colors, your spacecraft on a pulse. It's a recurring theme. I've seen the same thing while walking late at night, and I know it's not a dream.
From Malmstrom to Manhattan, Boston to LA, there are people asking questions and they will not go away. But what has been seen might not be what it seems. The government's shadows dance in the sea.
If you tell the truth, they will ridicule everything you say and do.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark, wants to give a big shout out to all the truckers that listen to our show. From our compound, from the West Coast to the East Coast to worldwide, both on the internet and terrestrial radio, you're listening to Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark.
And it is definitely After Dark. And tonight we got Earl Grey, who's with MUFON. He is a investigator, and he actually has investigators underneath him. We also have James out there, who has been quiet as a mouse. Anyway, Earl, are you still there?
Yeah, how are you doing there, Gary?
I'm doing good. But, you know, what gets me is the people who, and I get a lot of these people emailing me and texting me and message me. You know, they keep saying, no, there's no such thing as aliens. There's no such thing as abductions, that we are the only living humanoids with our level planet. And I read that type of stuff, and I'll tell you, they're so narrow-minded because, I'll be honest with you, I think this planet has been rebooted numerous times. I think, when I think about the Incas, why they had gold stashed, the Mayas, why did they have gold stashed? Why not lead? Why not pewter? Why not something else? But no, it was gold and silver. Tells me that something more intelligent-wise gave him that idea that gold is worth a lot. Maybe aliens were coming down here harvesting our planet for gold and minerals and, you know, and stuff like that. And that's where they discovered, oh, well, this is precious. This is worth a lot. It's just a lot of things I think about, like the pyramids. I think about all this stuff, and I just don't think our civilization could have advanced the way it has on its own without a little bit of something being there to, you know, change things.
I agree with you. Well, I found out about this stuff when I was very young. You know, my mom actually worked for Howard Hughes. She was one of Howard Hughes's 2 personal secretaries. And, you know, I had a pretty normal upbringing, except my mom had these weird stories. And one of them was 2 of them stuck with me. And she talked with me freely when I was about 4 or 5 years old. Technically, I mean, she told me later, she said, because I thought you would forget it. I thought you were safe to talk with, but apparently not. But, you know, my mom had a very, very high top secret classification because she would do the stenography for these high-powered meetings between the Hughes aircraft and different government agencies, the Rand Corporation and Army Corps of Engineers and people like that. And my mom, she told me when I was very young that she used to work in a deep underground military facility, that it was a mile under the desert, that they took her out the first time out to the middle of the desert, that there was a little shack out there. It looked like, she said it looked like a pump shack, middle of nowhere. She she had a little security detail with her. They didn't tell her where she was going when she went there. But apparently Hughes, he trusted his female workers, is what I've heard, and through, just personally investigating it, this is true. But she said that they took her out to this facility, that she took an elevator, and it kept on going down under the desert to where she felt butterflies in her stomach. And the doors opened up, and there was this little city under the desert. This must have been like 1956 or so, 55, 56. She worked for Hughes from 1955 to 1958. And she said that, I met, German scientists down there that were in the rocketry programs that we got, which must have been, Operation Paperclip, later on, studying it on my own. And she said that they had movie theaters down there, that they had these labs where they were studying these esoteric things that the populace wasn't privy to. And that was a weird story. And as time went on, I kept bringing it up to her, and after a while, she would roll her eyes and just like, she eventually said that she never should have told me this stuff. She wasn't supposed to. My mom went on to work as a headhunter for Lockheed Skunk Works, Rockwell, Northrop, all the major, Raytheon, the major contractors in the aerospace industry. But the other thing that my mom told me was, she said that we are not alone in the universe, and we know this already. That I took her to see the movie Star Wars, and I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't expecting my mom to talk about anything, because she usually didn't. Only when I was very, very young. I was about 17 years old, and I took her to see this new movie called Star Wars. It had come out 2 days before. And when the curtains closed and the lights came up, my mom started talking. And she said, Earl, Star Wars is not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched at all. An intelligent life in the universe is a very, very real thing. And we already know about it. She said, it's real. It's realer than you will ever know, actually. So it's realer than you will ever know. And, that planted the bug in me, And I would try to get my mom to talk more as the years went by. I took her to see the movie E.T., right?
Uh-huh.
And the best I could get out of her was, she said, well, it's a cute movie, son, but I don't think they're all that nice. But she spoke with great authority about it. And when my mom kept getting cancers, she eventually passed away back in 1999. And when she was on her deathbed, she became a little more open about sharing some of this stuff with me. And she said that, she was working as a patriot, that she was doing what she believed was best for our country. But this was all true, what she had told me. And that's really what led me to go into investigating this phenomenon. It was a very personal thing. And I think that this thing, that if you have an interest in this, that tends to follow families. My mom told another story about when she was 16 years old, that she lived in Iowa, and she and her sister would sleep out in the screened-out porch that they had, because it would get very humid in the summers. And she said that one night it was about the size of a basketball, and she said that it was she called it ball lightning. But we know ball lightning, they didn't even say it existed until recently, but it will only, it only lasts for about 3 to 5 seconds max. This thing came in through the screen and porch. She said that it pushed through and there were sparks coming, that were all around it, that it was like this giant basketball-shaped thing, like it was built out of sparklers, 4th of July sparklers. It came into the porch, it hovered over her sister for a little while, and then it came over to my mom. My mom was on her elbows, and she was looking at this and watching it. And it just hung there, and they were sort of looking at each other. It didn't have eyes, but it was the way she described it. It was like eye to eye. Then it went back through the screened-in wall that they had at the porch. So my mom said she got up. She was like 16 years old at this time, in Muscatine, Iowa. And she ran after this ball of sparks. She followed it like you'd follow Tinkerbell, you know. And it led her to the middle of a cornfield, and then she said that it went up about, say, 20 or 30 feet, and it just hung there above her, and then it popped. And when it popped, she said it smelled like ozone, like an electric train is how she described it, which is ozone. And to me, I believe my mom was being observed. I don't think that time is any element to our visitors. I think that they, are able to see beyond time and space. And perhaps they knew the job that she was going to have someday. Perhaps they knew what I was going to do someday. But this thing, it led her out into the middle of a cornfield. It hung there, inexplicably above her. And to me, it was under intelligent control. It sounds a lot like the Foo Fighters that people reported during World War II. So I think that the phenomena kind of finds people. And if you have a great interest in it, it's probably, to me, it's probably not a coincidence. You may have been touched.
I think
you may have been observed.
I think there's a lot of people touched. Now, I want to mention, have you ever heard of Chad Meek?
Yeah, I've heard of Chad Meek.
Yeah, he's been on my show numerous times for the last 2 years about giant rock. And, his grandfather befriended Howard Hughes, and Howard Hughes actually gave him the money to create that compound where they were like the very first compound where people would go to see UFOs. Contactees. Yeah.
George Van Tassel and that whole group.
Oh, yeah.
And they were interested in those guys. And you look at Valiant Thor now, and he said he was from Venus and all this stuff, and you kind of laugh. But I think that that this phenomena, it approaches us in a way that we can understand. And that may have been the greatest reach that people could take at that point in time was, somebody from Mars or Venus. We're not thinking, extra dimensional or from another galaxy. So, but Hughes was very interested in this. Underground bases, well, you have to remember how Hughes made his fortune originally. It was by making the better drill bit. And he worked hand in hand with Rand Corporation, which was it was actually a wing of Hughes Aircraft up until 1961, I believe. And Rand Corporation, they came up with the idea of a subterrane, which is a machine that can drill through rock. It's like a submarine goes through water, while a subterrane melts through rock. So I think that Hughes had a vested interest in both underground bases as well as in aerospace. So it all kind of coheses together for me. The more I research it, and the more people I talk to that were contemporaries, whose parents, a lot of these people are gone now, sadly. My mom's generation, she was born in 1923. They're kind of quickly leaving the earth if they haven't left already. But a lot of the children are still here, and I keep on hearing stories from people that are very, very similar, that describe the exact same thing that their parents told them.
Well, I do think that people are being contacted. Seriously, what kind of gets me, that the people that I hear it, like Timothy Collin, and I bring his name up quite a bit. He was the number 9th implant removal from the late Dr. Roger Lear. And he's been on my show. He's going to be back on again. He's been on probably 4 or 5 times. And the last time he was on, that every time we talked about a certain subject, the phone would drop out on his end. He would switch.
That happened.
Yeah, but then he would switch over to another phone, which it wasn't a landline. We would go to a cell phone. Soon as we talked about a certain subject, it would do the same thing. It would go crazy. And that went on the whole night. And it's happened a couple times when he's been on. But I could feel, and James is out there, he's my cohort at times. James, like you mentioned, you could feel the emotional stress or something going on with Timothy the last time he was on. Didn't you feel it?
Absolutely. And I have post-traumatic stress, so I can really feel it in his voice. You could